So you talked a little bit, or you touched it right now on your playing days in the Frontier League.
Not mine, my brother.
Or your brother. Sorry. What can you give for the people at home? What's that life kind of like?
Hard.
Yeah.
You know what? As I think that people that dedicate themselves in the line of baseball, media, broadcasting, front office work, everyone wants to be in the big leagues. And the hard part about sports and baseball is that there's only so many teams.
Mm-hmm.
So when you are in the top level, your chance might be a window of 5 to 6 years. If you have 10 years in a team, you're like, wow, that's amazing. Even 10 years in the industry is crazy. So like Frontier League it's basically minor league baseball, just not affiliated to MLB. So something happened, and again, MLB is this monstrosity, and it's amazing what it's done for the game. It's made it advance so much. But there was a part of baseball that got taken away when teams became affiliated to professional baseball teams. That towns lost teams. The control of the league, of the game itself. So before it was a bunch of just different leagues, kind of like if you're a wrestling fan, a bunch of territories, and then WWE came in and made every town had a league. Every league was around, and kind of like you were like a local guy, and there was ways of making money and competing. And Major League Baseball said basically they got all the top ones that they wanted, and they created minor league affiliates, and then independent ball was created from that. And indie ball is basically there's different levels because there's different leagues from the Frontier League, which is more like your single A, double A, to your Atlantic League, which is like triple A guys, guys that could be playing on a major league roster. Mexican League in Mexico, it's considered triple A, but it's in the independent league because the rosters are independent.
Right.
But it's a league that you don't make a lot of money, but it helps you develop.
There's a lot of players who have gone from indie ball.
Oh yeah, the best story of recently is Jose Martinez, Cafe, with the St. Louis Cardinals. He actually played in Aurora. He was released. He was a top prospect with the White Sox. Was there for like 8 years. Really didn't pan out. Was released. Couldn't find a job because again, people don't know this. When you're released from minor league baseball, it's really hard because your affiliate have a plan for you. So if you're like released, you're no longer in that plan. Also, the draft, everyone gets drafted every year.
Right.
So like imagine like in your job. Imagine in your job, them drafting a bunch of like all the interns, them getting the top interns and putting them in your position.
Right. Like if you're a third baseman and then they draft me, everyone's like, oh, we got this really nice prospect, but you're thinking, oh my God, they got a
so it happened. So my Ozzie always says I kind of ruined it for a bunch of guys that play shortstop because every time there was a replacement. Yeah. And that was my mentality. Someone's going to replace me, and there's a lot of guys that were great prospects through the White Sox organization that either got traded or just didn't make it because he was there. But the other way around is I've seen a lot of guys. One of my really good friends got drafted, and the year after him, Wooders got drafted. Yeah, and he went. He was a catcher, and he was like he got jumped within 6 months, and now you got this guy in front of you, and you're like, okay, either I keep playing and play myself out of this situation. Or, there's stories of, like, the guy who played AAA with Edgar Martinez was the first baseman, was the DH first baseman for the Seattle Mariners. Good luck. Right. The shortstops, all the shortstops that have went through the Yankee system. Yeah. So that part is hard because, obviously, but then the indie ball part is, I think it gives you an opportunity to keep playing. You're making money. Mm-hmm. And you never know who's watching. And that's the thing. So now leagues, you're getting watched everywhere. Yeah. Especially for pitching, and it develops you because a lot of guys, some guys, Latino guys, some guys in the Latino scouting world, Latinos take a little bit longer to develop. Yeah. Language-wise, maturity-wise, and then their bodies kind of come more into fruition. That's why it's funny when they're like, I'm not signing anyone past 30 because before it was like, well, Latinos kind of hit their prime, 27, 28, 29, 30. Yeah. Right. More than a younger player. Again, that's changing a bit. But it's a great league. Chicago, actually, Illinois has a lot of really cool teams. The Dogs, I think, are probably the closest. There's one, Indiana, Schaumburg Boomers. But again, if you enjoy baseball, it's a great, and the development of it, seeing it wise, it's a minor league team.
We got a comment. William BJ, who was watching, says, sorry guys, I have a sick little league at home. I had to turn off to make sure he's okay. Be well, all of you. Thanks for watching, BJ.
Yeah, thank you, BJ. Yeah. Have you seen, speaking of Indie League, I don't know if either one of you have seen it, it's a relatively new, I think in the last month, documentary on Netflix. It's called The Battered Bastards of Baseball.
I loved it.
It's on my list.
Absolutely incredible.
It's on my list.
If you haven't seen it yet,
Don't spoil it for me.
I'm not going to spoil it.
All right.
It's about an indie team in Portland, Oregon that was owned by Bing Russell. Lots of people, especially your age, because you're young and might not recognize that name. He was a famous actor back in like the 50s, 60s, 70s. His son is Kurt Russell, so you probably know him a little bit more than you know Bing. They played in the Northwest League, which was short season. Absolutely incredible story about a legitimate rogue who was just like, forget the establishment, I'm going to do it my way, we're going to have a good time. Like literally like open tryouts. In Portland, Oregon.
So all that information that they just gave on the history of indie ball, I got from this documentary. Legitimately, like word by word.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know about this. I didn't know. Yeah. You know, it's a game that you love so much, and it's funny because I love soccer as well, and we were talking about this whole tanking thing.
Yeah.
And it's concerning to me that I don't think teams tank on purpose, but there's teams that are like, well, I'm not going to sign a guy. Maybe, middle of the road, like an middle of the road guy. I'm not going to sign him because he's not part of my rebuild.
Right.
And then what happens? Maybe that guy, people don't realize, a guy like, Dallas Keuchel right now is on the market.
Right.
He's smart because when he comes pitching, he's going to destroy everybody because he's resting.
Right.
But him on a team, you're going to get 9-10 wins more on your team.
Right.
So veteran guys, sometimes they might not get you a championship, but they're going to make your team maybe a little bit more competitive. So, like in soccer, I was like, what happened if Major League Baseball, if the bottom two teams would get dropped to a lower division to go play AAA, and the top two other teams coming in? Trust me, there's going to be rebuilds, but they're going to be like, we got to rebuild, but we cannot end up last.
Right.
So, you can't do that because obviously the AAA teams, the rosters are controlled. So from an indie standpoint, you're still controlling that, but you're controlling the way that the market, and I think people don't realize this that are not in the business, but all the best marketing ideas have come from indie league, minor leagues, all of them. Major League Baseball is very hard to implement something. People are very scared to even try new foods. I remember 5 years ago, like the fact that you could have like a lotte in a stadium, it was
would be unheard of.
When the White Sox had it, it was like, oh my god, like let's try something else that's not hot dogs and pizza, and it was like people's minds are blowing up. That all started in like indie ball and minor leagues because you're just figuring.
You got to figure out. You got to get a way to get
sponsorship, and you're hustling, and it's funny because I always tell kids that are in the sport, especially in that kind of venue like marketing, advertisement. I was like, you're gonna learn more, and you're gonna have more experience, like your hands dirty on an indie ball team, because there you're like the media guy and you're the marketing guy. Big leagues is nice, but you just can't think as creatively.
Ramon on Facebook, not from Chicago, he says, what is Ozzie Sr. doing nowadays? Is he still involved in baseball? He says, he's got a quote, he says, baseball's life, the rest is just details.
Yes, baseball's life, the rest is detail. Yes, Ozzie, I need to write a book on Ozzie's details. Like, you better have a good bullpen, a good wife, and then you have a good life.
There's your title.
That's your title. So Ozzie is NBC Sports Chicago.
Okay.
He's one of the commentators.
Yep.
Post game. He does consulting, actually. The part that keeps him the most of baseball. He does consulting for Team Mexico.
Oh, okay.
Cerreros and Moncloa.
Oh.
For the people who don't know, Mexico has a league that is on steroids in like the way they're growing.
Yeah.
Actually,
not literally.
Yeah, not literally on steroids.
Not literally. No, like for example, so my mom actually was watching the game and she didn't know that the Cardinals were playing in Mexico. That series.
In the Mexico series.
Because of the stadium. The stadium, and I think it's Monterrey, Sultanes play there.
Yeah.
It's a big league stadium.
Yeah.
And all the teams are growing and their fan base is growing, and everyone's trying to become more like Japan. Japan has a league, and they have their players, and it makes money, and they have a following, and they want to do that. They have enough people to do it. So they got a whole like a big league type system. General managers, assistants, and they get players. They develop players through their own farm system, and they're also trying to get into the game of. They want to see younger players in the American system. Mm-hmm. So how can Ozzie help them develop that talent and kind of make that exchange and help them bring them here and then keep their league there and make it better? So he's basically learning how to do front office work.
That's very interesting.
Which is interesting. A different monster for him, but learning a lot and loving doing he's really enjoyed himself with NBC.
He goes back to Venezuela and coaches Winter League ball.
So last season, obviously this season, I just blanked out on that because the whole situation now. He doesn't know if he's going to go back, but he did winter ball the last 3 years,
okay.
which is also a league that is very interesting because you got a kid that played rookie ball, and then you have a guy that
is a major leaguer
who's who's a stud.
Yeah,
he's on your roster, so it changes.
Yeah.
So he managed in that league for the last 3 years in winter ball in Venezuela, and they play part of the Caribbean series, Puerto Rico, Cuba, Dominican. So yeah, he stays involved. So he works. He has more jobs. He doesn't have to be at the ballpark at 8 in the morning.
Right, which is always nice. So my dad had asked me a question. We grew up in Cicero.
Okay.
He said, "Do you remember playing on the South Cicero Padres?" And I believe your dad was a coach the season he was.
So this is funny. So everyone thought that my dad just came to every game because the year that I moved there, he got hurt.
Right. Yeah.
So they were like, "Oh, Ozzie Guillén's gonna come every game." I'm like, "No, that's happening because he's hurt and he's home. He's never around." Yeah. But I did. I played South Cicero, beautiful little league field. It's actually funny. We lived in Berwyn, but we played in South Cicero illegally under someone else's address because Berwyn did not have a league. The next year they created a league. Oh, that was a whole issue. The next year they created a league, and they forced the kids that were in Cicero
to go play in Berwyn.
I understand. They were like, dude, like you're gonna have your own league. Like you need to leave. And kids were like, no, but they have this person.
My friends. Yeah.
So it was just like a whole like, and my dad made us sit out for a year.
Wow, I didn't know that.
On principle, which now I'm like, that's the dumbest thing you could have done. We just probably could have played it. After like a week, we probably wouldn't have noticed. We probably would have made new friends.
It's funny. One of my brother's friends, growing up, when in 2005, obviously when the White Sox are winning the World Series, he says he played on your team and when your dad was coaching. Yeah,
that's awesome. I wonder if I ever see a picture of him and recognize him.
Yeah, but he was saying, he's like, I had Ozzie as my coach before he was winning a World Series. I'm like, not many people can say that.
And it's funny because now, when I was moving there, that's like when the whole Latino movement was happening.
Yeah.
Now it's like Cicero Berwyn is 90% Hispanic.
Yeah, exactly.
But I was I was there early on. And it was great. It was that whole area. We obviously it was close to the stadium, and we were in the city, but not really.
Yeah.
Had a pool. First house we ever had a pool in.
Yeah.
So we loved it. We enjoyed our time there.
Yeah.
We still go to a place there called Mr. Tacos.
Yes, on Austin Boulevard.
Yes. If you go there, it's a late night place. So if you go down during the day, it kind of looks sketchy.
Yeah.
The food's amazing.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're
My sister-in-law teaches 6th grade in Cicero.
Okay.
I was out there for career day last week. So no one's watching because they blocked social media in the building. But there are at least 2 teachers. I was like, so where do you guys go to, like, get a drink on a Friday or crush tacos after work? And that's exactly what they were like. Austin, trust me,
it's good.
Get it. So,
but it's funny, like you mentioned it back in the day. That was the only place. That was really one of the few places that had Mexican food.
In
that area. And now it's like, now you can't find anything but Mexican or in Cicero. It's really funny how.
And I still go have pizza at Michael Anthony's.
Michael Anthony's.
Great establishment, Chicago style, the family diner on one side, bar on the other
side. Yep,
it's the best of both worlds.
I remember the first time walking in, and when you have a party there, it's like, I think I walked in the wrong place. This is a bar, and it's like, no, you go down the back, go in the back.
Family owned, but I still I still go there with my friends, and so I still have friends that live there, work there, so always that connection. People always get weirded out.
Yeah, and when people ask me like, where's Cicero in relation to Chicago, since it's a suburb, I say it's on the west side. And if you really want to know, it was where Al Capone made his name. Yeah, that's where he lived. Yep. And they tore down his old house.
About 2/3 of the way home for me on a daily basis.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly.
Are you still coaching out at?
I am. I'm at Proviso West.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So the coaching tree continues. How's that going?
It does. It's going well. High school baseball. It's a very weird. I'm learning. So talking about the unwritten rules.
Right.
High school baseball, the kids need to stop running when it's like 10-0. I need to get that memo out. But it's different. So I tried like 9-year-olds for a while for travel baseball, and that was a little bit too hardcore. Parents are crazy. But high school, I like it because you see the guys that are just doing it just to do it. Do something for 4 years. And you see the guys that are hoping to play college, kind of helping them get there. Physically, mentally, what you need to do for teams to see you. I happen to play. Our team's not great, but I played in a really good conference. Yeah. Like if I was an agent, I see like 3 guys in my conference that are probably gonna get good money. I'm like, that kid's really good. Mm-hmm. So that part, what I enjoy of the game of baseball, being with the guys, being in a cage, flipping, coaching, that part I get that fix from that.
Yeah.
And then my brother coaches. My brother only is there and at Lamont High School, so we've all gotten back into coaching. To I guess the game kind of calls you back and you kind of start missing it. My youngest brother, he's doing it big time. He's in single A baseball.
The Astros organization.
The Astros organization. So he's doing it like legit. So I think when you're a coach, like anything in life, when you become a baseball coach and you're coaching at any level, especially pro ball, you have to love it.
Mm-hmm. Because there's gonna be days that are tough.
There's not that though. It's just hard, man. Like you're there at 6 a.m. and you're working with somebody, and it's a very stressful job because it's about production, like winning, losing, and now it's even harder because now you're writing reports. But you have to love it. You're in the field 24/7. You kind of become. Like, I always joke around like Joe Madden. The reason he's like so weird and like funky. I'm like, the guy was. You know how much son Joe's had?
Yeah.
Like son legitimately how many bus rides?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Wendy's Joe's eaten in his lifetime?
Yeah.
Like, of course. Well, that's why when he won, I'm like, he deserves it.
He's probably seen Dumb and Dumber on VHS 1 million times.
And now it's easier because now, you got DVDs and all that. They did it like in the days like you were in a school bus.
Yeah.
Right.
On a 15-hour trip, So that part of the game I respect and I admire. And that's the part when guys are like, oh, old school. I'm like, no, I respect old school because usually guys that are like journeymen, I respect that. And I respect kids that go up and they have a fast rising and they get there. But guys that have been there, I get so excited when a guy's like, oh, this guy's been in the minor leagues 12 years and he gets a call up. Because that's so rewarding because you've given it all to your craft. So I think for us, it's a way to give back to the game. And again, if I get to be as good as I am at coaching, like how easy it flows at anything else in life, I'm probably going to do pretty good. Because it's just natural. It's just natural. Just natural teaching them, and it's hard, but it's easier for me. He's been around it so long that I like it.
Yeah. Ramon on Facebook says he's got 2 questions. Are we going to see Omar Vizquel in the Hall of Fame? And then the second question is he wants to know about your baseball career. So whichever one you want to answer.
Let's start with my baseball career. I couldn't hit a breaking ball.
Okay.
I played college, but I didn't have the. My dad gave me too good of a life. I like the eating, the going out, the movies, the clothes. For you to become a professional baseball player, like you need to be hungry for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because not only do you have to have talent, but then once you have talent, you need to take it to the next level.
Sure.
And I you know what? I love playing, but I always loved the other side of the game.
The coaching and the
managing I love.
Yeah.
Coaching can go both ways.
Yeah.
Coaches work really hard. I love the GMing part.
Yeah.
If I had to do a job right now for if Theo called me and said, you get to intern for me for a year, I might not even ask for a salary. My wife might hate me and divorce me.
We'll cut that part out of the video.
We'll cut that part out. But I'm just that's the part of the game that I've always loved. Even since I was a little kid, I've loved it. I was a kid that was like, oh, that's Ron Schuler. Like I was always very intrigued with that part of the game. But I played high school. But my parents were my dad was like, play every sport you want. They wanted me to get involved. And my dad actually in high school, my junior year, right before my junior year, I was like really wanted to play college. I was obsessed with playing college baseball, just so I can say that I did it. And my dad was like, this is what you need to do to get there because you're not prepared to play college right now. And I did. I played. I jumped around, trying to get playing time. I wish I would have stayed one place and played it out. And then I didn't do the getting drafted thing. I probably could have gotten drafted. Favor, not favor, just been there. But again, I was like, okay, I'm going to go there, maybe get 4 or 5 years of my life, and I'm not going to
get an education.
I'm saying after college. Go be minor league baseball. And I was like, I didn't know that I wanted to go that route.
Right.
Because I knew I wasn't going to be good. I knew after high school, I was like, I probably could play minor league baseball, and I probably won't be that great at it. Probably be a backup in the minor leagues.
Yeah.
So, and then they're going to probably say, like they did for my brother Oni, great organization guy, probably better student for coaching or scouting.
Mm-hmm.
But then I got to enjoy other parts of the game. I interned. Then the broadcasting thing came into play right out of high. So in college, I was given an opportunity to broadcast and do a radio show and broadcast, and I was like, oh my God. So he was in the show actually, Jaime Jarrin, Hall of Famer, the best in the game. I always liked them. I always loved the broadcasting side. You go there and all the guys have jobs. So when I was given that opportunity, everyone at first thought it was like, oh, you're getting broadcast. I'm like, you guys have no idea how big of a deal this is.
Right.
in my resume, people are like, one of the things you're most proud of? I'm like, broadcasting Major League Baseball, for sure. What do you mean? I'm like, you don't get that job just to, like, fall on it. Not only that, like, at the time, there was only a very little group of guys that did it and had done it for all that. So for me, I was like, I'll put anything on hold to be able to have this opportunity. So things changed. I went to scout school, which was awesome in Major League. So I've done a lot of different things in baseball. But playing-wise after college, I stopped. I still play in the men's league, manage and play. So I'll give myself about 20, 30 at bats.
And we're combatants in fantasy.
Fantasy baseball is a different. I have a little slight obsession with fantasy. Fantasy.
That's your GM side.
That is my GM side. Fantasy baseball and MLB The Show.
Yeah.
Probably if my wife had to eliminate something in our relationship,
it would be that.
It would probably be that, because she brought up the other day. She's like, "Oh, it's baseball season. That's why you're on your phone." Because I have the app and I like watching my guys at bats.
Yeah.
It takes on a level. I have notes, and then I have my show, and in the show I play a league. So I'm always around baseball. And now that I got older, I've actually shut down other sports. Yeah. So when I was younger in my bar days, I watched hockey a lot, watched NFL. Now I pick and choose. NFL, like, I'll watch a game, but I can't tell you, like, who's the third string, defensive back on this team. Baseball, I stay very involved.
It's funny you say you're probably just like me, where I love MLB Show and I love playing franchise mode, but I only like the behind the GM part. Like, I will not play a single game in the whole season. I will just play I will just make trades
in our league. So I'm in a fantasy league with Ozzie Jr. So 20 guys, 20 folks.
Very deep league, two divisions.
Very deep.
It's a crazy deep league. I actually drafted David Bodie. I have my team up right now. I think I'm probably coming out of the draft. I was probably the most popular guy getting trade offers in our league, because I was the guy who drafted Williams Estatillo in Minnesota, and everybody wants him. He's a lot of fun to watch.
But our league is so deep that, like, the other day I had to go pick up a pitcher. So, like, you don't want to drop someone because you're gonna need. So I play two types of leagues. So there's leagues that, like, it's all the elite guys, so you can drop a guy and pick him up, and, like, you're like, whatever, dude. Like, you're gonna. But, like, in our league, like, Yomer Sanchez has, like, a lot of value, because if you drop him, someone else is going to pick him up.
Right.
So that's the part. And even for, like, the waiver wire, like, for the rookies that are coming in, good luck. So, like, if you take an early waiver on someone, because the Vladdy one, Weber had Vladdy, I was like, well, obviously I want to wait for that one.
Yeah.
When it comes up, just so you can have him on your team. So teams are very in-depth, but that takes a lot of time and a lot of commitment. But I enjoy it. It keeps me involved in the game, and it's showed me a way to view the game in a different aspect on numbers. Because early in my fantasy, I'd be like, oh, that guy's horrible because he couldn't play defense.
Right.
I'm like, God, that has no value whatsoever in fantasy. Yeah. But it's allowed me to get better at that, sabermetrics, learn the analytical side. Once I got my MBA, I really enjoyed that side on what a player's worth to a team, what a manager's worth to a team, moves and statistics. It could help. It could be a detriment if you do too much of it. I think, like in everything in life, it's got to be a good balance. Yeah. But I love it. Like, watching the shifts now, I'm like, good Lord.
Yeah.
You watch Houston, see guys line driving the gap, and the guy's like catching it.
Yeah.
There's a part of me as a hitter, I'm like, that should be illegal. Yeah. But it shows you the different aspect of the game with the preparation that takes to that. And I think you're going to see guys become even better hitters because they're going to go the opposite way and whatnot. And then Omar Vizquel.
Yes.
Yeah. Do I think he's a Hall of Famer? In my opinion, yes, he's a Hall of Famer. I think they should make a special Hall of Fame for guys that, if you played more than like 17 years, 16 years, they should have a ceremony for you, and they should just put you in the room and say because people don't realize
how tough that is,
how hard being in Major League Baseball is to stay. My cousin was hitting 161, 30 at bats at 5 hits. He was like about to 80 out of the outs. He was like killing himself.
Yeah,
because he's pressured. A lot of pressure. He went deep last night.
Yeah,
slept better off of Verlander, but that's the pressure. Yeah. Like Gordon Beckham, I saw, man, Gordon's 11 years in the big leagues.
Yeah.
So I said,
which makes you feel old because
any
it feels
White
like it
Sox
came
fan,
up yesterday.
any White Sox fan that says, "Oh, that was a flop," I'm like, dude, the guy
played 11 years.
I'm saying he's played 11 years. Maybe he wasn't a Hall of Famer or a superstar. He's played 11 years.
Right.
That's a first rounder.
What a lot of people don't realize too is, like, when you think number one prospects, I think everyone assumes that they're going to be a Hall of Famer. When in reality, a number one prospect is more likely like they're just going to be a major. Like at the very worst, they're going to be a major.
I'll give you a Joan Moncada example.
Yeah.
So everyone's like, last year everyone was like, "Oh, this guy's not good," and I'm like, "Did you guys see his numbers? Yeah. He hit 17 home runs. Like, if you compare these numbers to other guys' numbers, in other eras, you'd be like, he had a great year. But our expectations of what we expect of him, we get all excited, which is Vladdy Jr. right now. Everyone's like, Vladdy Jr.'s up. Everyone's like, oh, like, he's going to take time, and it's going to time to him to develop into a player that he is going to be. And then the longevity comes. So that's why I think as a fan, you get overexcited. And now with social media, you're getting hyped. Yeah. You know, they put
and comps are everywhere. Oh, he's going to be the next Miguel Cabrera. Yeah. He might be. But Miguel Cabrera wasn't Miguel Cabrera when he was a 19-year-old in Florida. He won a Triple Crown in Detroit almost a decade later.
So you can have physical comparison, but then a lot of takes in place like development and the drive of the person and then health. And can the guy stay healthy? Those are all those things.
There's so many variables
There's so many variables that happen. So then I think when a guy makes it and there's some consistency in the game and can hold on to 10 plus years, you're in a special group. But I think Omar is because I think Omar was kind of like that transition player in my eyes of the position changing.
Yeah.
Like Ozzie was never asked to hit 300. Omar was first offensive threat as a shortstop. His Gold Glove speak for himself. I think that the Hall of Fame is a game.
Yeah.
You got to see what class you graduated with when you retire. Andrew Jones, I said, Andrew, if you would retire 6 years earlier, you'd be in the Hall of Fame already. It's like, I know. You know, but guys never really thought about it that way. So so I think Omar will get in. I think Omar will get in because, for example, we're talking about Louis. You look at Omar's numbers compared to Louis, they're there. Sabermetrics is not too kind to him.
Yeah.
But that's not his fault.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, are they going to go back and give my dad the Gold Gloves that he deserves?
Right.
You know, the guy won it 6 years in a row, sabermetrics-wise, before Omar. So technically, it should be 12 years of Venezuelan guys just whooping on everybody, Gold Gloves-wise. But then that wasn't the case. My dad got it 1 year. Cal got it a bunch of years, 20 for So it's everything that they're using against Omar. Like, oh, well, he struggled his last years. Yeah, but he was playing as a backup guy, which he played great.
Right. Yeah.
He was also 39, 40 years old.
That's the other thing. When people say like production-wise, they're like, yeah, are you comparing his production-wise with a 39-year-old to a 23-year-old Omar or a 39-year-old? Everyone else is retired. He's
still playing. Yeah.
And he played for the Sox, and he did great. I think he'll be a Hall of Famer. He should be coaching big leagues.
I think he will be.
I'm saying he should be coaching right now, coaching big leagues.
Yeah.
Not first base.
Right.
He should be coaching third base, bench coach somewhere. I think he'll be a manager one day.
Yeah, I think so too.
I don't know how good he's going to be. Again, that has rosters, your style,
it's
the team
that
you're given, situation.
Yeah.
But I think that I think people are realizing now how serious he was, that he is about managing. I think at first it was like, oh, he maybe wants to do it, but he's putting in the work now. I think that that's really a big goal for him to be an MLB manager. So I think that he'll be, and that's going to help him. I think that when you're on the game, for people voting and whatnot, I think being around the game helps you more than not being around the game.
Ramon has he says it's the last question for you. LOL.
Oh, it's okay. You can ask as many as
you want. Exactly. He says he wants to know your opinion about Loizaga, the pitcher from New York, the Nicaraguan pitcher.
Not many guys are from there.
Yeah.
He's got to keep throwing.
Yeah. Still young.
Still young. I compare him kind of like the kid who pitched, maybe a little bit age different. Last night, Mexican kid. Buñuelos. Pitching.
Who I have in our fantasy league, by the way.
He's very good. Ozzie loves him.
Yeah.
Ozzie was like, this kid's legit. They're not going to talk much about him, but he's legit. He's going to do really well. Either as a starter or a long reliever, he's going to be really good. Sometimes pitchers, he has a velocity.
Yeah.
Okay, has velocity, has a second command pitch. My biggest issue with AAA baseball is that when you're pitching in AAA baseball, there's 3 or 4 guys that are like deadly hitters. Okay, Escobar's hitting 350.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Alcides.
Yeah.
He never hit over 240, 250 in the big leagues.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so your pitch sequence when you're in the big leagues, there's 2 differences. When you're in the big leagues and you're pitching against C squad, that's hard. When you're in the big leagues and you're facing the Boston Red Sox or the Houston Astros, and you're like just monster after monster after monster.
That's basically impossible.
Oh, the American League. I used to call it the American League. You look at the American League, like, oh my god, like everyone's just a really good hitter. Every pitch that you make has so much stress. Even that gets taken to another level in the playoffs. People are like, oh, the Red Sox bullpen right now, they're dying. Why? Because in the playoffs, every pitch that you make is that much meaningful. You put so much more on that pitch. Right. So these guys have talent-wise arm-wise, pitch sequence-wise. But what happens? They destroy the minor leagues because they're just that good.
Yeah.
But coming to the big leagues, you need to learn how to put it together because your 20 pitch inning, 15 pitch inning in AAA might be 35 because big league guys don't let you go 3-1 just so they want that pitch 3-1. Minor leagues guys are free swinging. In the big leagues, guys they drain you. There's guys up there that their plan is like, we're gonna let them pitch, and they won't swing.
I'll see 5. I guarantee you, I'll see 5 pitches.
So that's at that level. So he needs to learn how to pitch at that level, arm wise, and I think that's the biggest jump for a pitcher. That's why there's a lot of guys that are 95 plus without a job, because not only that. Now comes the strike part, where I just think the Latino guys, the bullpen guys, get destroyed. Yes, I throw 98, but do you know where it's going?
Yeah.
If you don't, big league hitting, they're like, this much off. They're like, no.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then if the umpire's a little off, they give them the pitches, you go up 2-0 or down 2-0. In the big leagues, it's a huge difference on a hitter's count. So all that takes respect. I think he's got talent. He's got the arm. I just think it's putting it all together.
Speaking of talent, Gabriel, do we have that photo? I wanted to throw one up on the screen. That it's something that you shared on Instagram.
El Negro.
So, Ozzie put this out on Insta over the weekend. Share with our audience who this adorable kid is.
This is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. El Negro.
Wow.
He's probably like 3 there. He's a big kid. Great swing, by the way, even back then.
Yeah.
Obsessed with hitting. So Ozzie was a coach for the Expos then. And Jeff Torb was the best manager, I think, other than Ozzie, for kids and family. Always around. And we were already older, and we knew a lot of guys on the team, so we'd always be around. But we pitching to him. He always wanted to hit, And that's funny, his dad mentioned it, about him always, since he was 3, he'd carry a 34. So he'd hit with Vladdy's bat.
34-ounce bat as a 3-year-old.
So this kid's like, and he's trying to get it there.
The bat was probably taller than he was.
And so they give him like a wiffle ball bat. He wanted the wooden one, the one that his dad would swing. So I said, so this is him, and he was petrified of Yuppie, the Montreal Expos mascot.
If you remember the Expos mascot,
it's like this.
There were grown men who were scared of Yuppie.
So Yuppie, and so here's the thing. So Montreal, not a lot of fans go to Montreal at that time,
right? Great comment, by the way. Now that's Vlad Jr. coverage. You're not getting anywhere else. It is. So Montreal's not great. The team's not playing good at that time, but we have the best player in baseball, Vladimir Guerrero, and great prospects, good team. But not a lot of fans like to come to the games, right?
So you see the mascot wherever he is at all times, and this guy would be like, you can always see him, and he laughed because he's sitting in the family section, and he watched the game, but he knew at all moments where Yuppie was in the stadium. Like, he was like, okay, as long as he's far away, I am okay.
Yeah.
But as soon as he started coming to him, oh man, he would freak out. But he was a baby. Like, it's cute because he'd be hitting, and then you'd be like, man, this kid's like, he's like a grown child. But then his grandma Altagracia would give him like his bottle, and he'd sit there with a bottle. He's like, this is a grown. So
how much money says we see Yuppie show up in the bleachers at Yankee Stadium this week?
Like this. And he's so scared of him. But I was as happy as I was for Vlad. I was happy for his grandmother.
Yeah.
Because she was with him there, and she was
is she still with him?
Yeah, but she was the reason that he was always she was the reason. Obviously, his mom and his dad weren't together. She was the reason. She was the responsibility because Vlad had to go to work. They bring him to him, so him and his brothers had a chance to grow up with his dad while he was playing. Because his grandmother and his uncles and whatnot. So for them, I know they were really, really excited. I said, man, that's a baseball lady.
Yeah.
Got 2 big league kids, and now your grandson's in the big leagues.
Yeah.
And regardless if he's going to be good or not, that's pretty awesome.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
So he was. I should have signed him then. I'd be a really.
What would the signing bonus be for a 3-year-old swinging?
I'm just saying that. Hey, just sign here.
Yeah,
one day you'll I've done. I had Alan Thomas, AT's kid with the White Sox. He'd always be running around the stadium, and
he's with the Diamondbacks now, right?
Diamondback, great talent, but I'm like, man, should have signed him.
Yeah.
I should have signed him. But kids that had talent when they were there, he loved the game, and he was always around it. And I think from a young age, he just decided. Usually in baseball, kids are either way. They're either like dabble, and they're like they're like undecided like me. Like, do I really want to do this? And then there's kids like him that are like, or my brother.
Baseball.
I'm going to be a baseball player no matter what.
So I want to ask you too. There's I love aging tab on this part.
Oh, boy.
In 05, I was 11. And I was a White Sox fan.
See, there's gray in my beard and hanging out the sideburns here.
So 05 was like the coolest thing as a young White Sox fan. But one of the cooler things I remember was, the last out happens in Game 4 at Minute Maid Park in Houston. The first thing your dad does is he hugs you guys.
I had something against that, by the way.
Really?
It completely ruined my picture. So when you've won before, so in the 2003 Marlins, my mugshot's everywhere. I'm like on top of Pudge, like I'll be there for the history of baseball.
Yeah.
So we had clinched. So when my dad got the managing job, I said, when you win the World Series one day, we'll be there no matter how old you are. He's like, okay, but you got to make sure. So obviously, every time we clinched, and when we clinched in Anaheim, I ran out early. And he was mad. Because I was like, and I ran. He was like, you guys need to be here for the last out. It was a big deal to him. But for me, if you stay and you hug, you're there too late.
Yeah, like everyone's already in the dog pile.
No. I'm saying everyone's in the dog pile. So all the pictures are taken within the first
you 5 seconds. There.
Yeah. I was like, if I get to go out first, I've been here before. Like, I know what angles are going to be taking a picture of. Like, I know where I need to be in the thing. So, but for him, it was a big deal. For him, it was planned. To him, it was a big deal. It was, people don't realize, I feel now, looking back, he should have celebrated more. Mm-hmm. He was so about the protocol. He got to celebrate with us, but he was so about the players. My players, and, Kenny and players. And it was all about the White Sox and the players that he at the end, he drank champagne with my mom, and he was like, okay, they enjoyed it. I think he might have thought, I'm going to come here every year. Maybe, I don't know. But he was all about the players. He never ran onto the field. Like, people think, he never did the Tommy Lasorda.
Right, yeah.
Tommy's jumping up and down and champagning. There's no videos of Ozzie doing that.
Right.
He showed the trophy. He was very proud of Venezuela. I knew 2 things were going to happen. I knew that he was going to hug us, and that was fine. And I knew that was going to be... So we all had titles. So I was a translator. Ozzie was bad boy. And we all had... Because we knew that the other team might say, well, these guys can't be in there. Sure. So I was official. I was team translator, Jose Contreras. Like, I was on them. I would walk out with Jose. So it kind of worked out our ages that we were there. And that's something that don't ever be able to take away. Just like the series, just that moment there. And again, we were so young. My wife asked me the other day about, like, what happens if your dad manages and he wins again? I said, if he manages is one thing, and that'll be different in itself. But even if he wins again, it'll be different.
Yeah.
It could be more about my daughter. Like, I won't be there. Like, I lived, 24/7 with those guys. Like, I might go out at, that season I might go to 20 games if I'm lucky.
Yeah.
So that aspect.
Well, it take you 3 weeks to get over the dog pile. Now you need a cane.
Yeah,
for at least
I gotta run for the dog pile. I'd be like, first of all, I don't want to be in uniform.
Yeah.
So I'd be like, I gotta put on the.
Secondly, the running part, no.
Yeah, the second part is like
nice path.
Because people, because I was always involved. Like, so me, what I like doing growing up, I love bad boying. Mm-hmm. My brother only hated it. I loved it. I bad boy for good teams, bad teams, Atlanta Braves. I worked in the clubhouses, worked for clubhouses with the Marlins, so I loved that aspect of it. I guess I love cleaning shoes and uniform. So I was always around the team then. So my last official bad boy capacity thing was All-Star Game 2006. Okay. And I said, I'm done. I said, this is my top thing. I've played in every big game possible. But if my dad ever managed a World Series now, like, I'm losing hair. Like who's that guy? Yeah. I'll be like in Venezuela, all the bad boys are older guys, not in the United States. I'll be like, isn't there like
in San Francisco where they got they're the bald dudes that are all
So I'm like, right now thinking about it, running up there every single at bat and being like, umpire's like 3. I'll be like, I'll get you in the next one. But no, so I think it's something family wise. My mom has a picture. For us, for him it was extremely important, and it was a moment of pride, and even for us, and I think from the being Latino part, Alex is coming here next week, so I have a picture that no one else has. My daughter. Alex came into town last year, and Boston was just destroying me. Yeah. They were just dominating. And my dad's very superstitious, and I knew he was going to get mad at this, but I grabbed Alex and I said, I want Adele to have a picture with me and you guys, because I'm going to have the first picture of World Series, first Latino's World Series manager. My dad's like, don't say that, you're going to jinx him. I said, can't jinx.
Yeah. No hitter.
Yeah, like, you can't jinx. Like, it's either going to be good or they're going to be good. Like, I was like, they all go down in injuries, and I'll say, oh my God, like, I ruined it in June. But I was like, this seems really good. And in regards to, like, they're both big league married. We have millions of pictures with Alex, but my daughter has that picture. My dad, little baby Adela, both of them and me. It's a huge, it means a lot to me. And when he comes to town, I want to take another one, just because I wanted to have that. Because for us, it's a sense of pride. Being a manager is a great responsibility, but winning it,
that's.
I still hold the best manager to ever put a uniform on, Latino wise, is Felipe. Mm-hmm. Just because when you look at his longevity, just being in the game that long, it's just you tip your cap to it. But being able to then win it, because then you compare, you say, man, this guy managed this long, and he was close, but he never, got it.
Yeah.
That means that you're in a special group, and that's something that. In the history books of baseball, it's going to be there forever, and that's something that you care for a lot, and it's a pride thing, man. It's for the family, it's a big deal. It's a lot of stress. Someone asked me about Joe's family. I said Joe's family right now, they don't know what's going on. Yeah. Is he going to be here next year? If he's not, they get stressed out. Win losses, because you want that person to be happy. So it's like if your dad's life was public every day.
Yeah.
Like your dad's regular life. Like you didn't know when you were a kid if your dad was going to get fired or not.
Right.
Because they didn't post it in the news. Yeah. Your dad did a bad job today at work. Yeah. He is going to get fired.
Yeah.
So kids don't know that. So as a family, there is a lot of stress. That's something that comes with the territory. But probably one of the most special things that we'll always get to share with Ozzie.
Yeah. Awesome. My pops just asked me to ask you the question about South Cicero. Yeah, you missed our Cicero talk earlier.
We'll play that back. So real quick. You brought up the last time you were a Batman.
I was a Batman. I was legally drinking, so I was a Batman.
Was the 06?
I have another question about that too. When we get back to
was the 06 All-Star Game, and you and I have talked about this over cigars in the past. But I wanted to bring this up for the audience because if you go back and look at the 2006 All-Star Game.
Amazing.
Insane. So Ozzie was the manager of the American League team. Here's the elected starters in the field for just the American League. Pudge Rodriguez, Hall of Famer. David Ortiz, eventual Hall of Famer. Mark Loretta, now the bench coach for the Cubs, really good player. Third base, A-Rod.
Should be in the Hall of Fame.
Shortstop, Jeter, eventual Hall of Famer. Outfield, Ichiro, future Hall of Famer. Manny, Ramirez, and Vladdy.
All Hall of Fame numbers.
Right. Here's your American League bench. Okay. So we've got Ichiro, Vladdy, Poppy, and Pudge. So we probably got and Jeter. So you've probably got 5. If we go with A-Rod, 6 future Hall of Famers out of the 8 starting position players. You go to the bench. Jim Thomey's on the bench, Hall of Famer. Robinson Cano, who's possibly
he's got a Hall of Fame
with last year in mind. Possibly a Hall of Famer. He was on the bench, so that's 2 more. But let's not skip out on the pitchers. Roy Halladay, rest in peace. He's going in this year. And Mariano Rivera.
This year as well.
So you've got, maybe 9 or 10 Hall of Famers. That's just the American League side. Let's go to the National, just for fun. Albert Pujols was at first base, future Hall of Famer. Carlos Beltran was in the outfield, future Hall of Famer. Pitching staff, Tom Glavine already in, Trevor Hoffman already in, Pedro already in. And then on the bench, you've got Miguel Cabrera, eventual. Andrew Jones, I agree with you, should be at some point. But you've got Nomar on there repping the Dodgers. So you've literally got, conservatively, between like 15 and 20 now already Hall of Famers or future Hall of Famers just in that game. And you've showed me some pictures. What was it like just being in, I think for guys like Andy and me, we have those fly-on-the-wall moments where, I just want to be in that room. You were in that room. What was that like?
So I think that I was surprising the respect that they had for Ozzie, because Ozzie had, so this is when, winning and losing, the whole, you need to win, you get the
home field advantage was right.
And we were trying to repeat.
Yeah.
And there was one player on the Sox that should have been on that team was Joe Creedy.
Joe Creedy, yeah.
Mm-hmm. The Sox were stacked. And Joe didn't get picked in, but he could have been on that team too. But Ozzie said, I'm bringing my guys, and we could bring 6 guys, and he brought as many guys as he could from his team. But looking at the team, he had a meeting, and he said, I'm winning this game. He wanted to know what pitchers can go, and he said, I don't want to get you hurt, but he had a meeting on winning. Because he said, as somebody in this team, their team is going to be representing the American League. And you want to have home field advantage. And he's like, hopefully it's me, but I'm managing to win. This is not an exhibition game for me. Who knows? He said, who knows if I ever get to manage an All-Star game. I don't want to have the L. And I'm managing to win. So the guys they were into it. Ichiro said something in Spanish at the end, and we have a lot of home videos because we had a camera and we were like filming everything. But it was cool seeing those guys. It was funny in the showering part because you're like, okay, well, it's showering now with like all these big leaguers. They're showering. You're like, okay, this is a little awkward. This is a little really cool and surreal. But then I think the best part was the bench. It was Derek and A-Rod, and Michael Young was up, and there was like a tie game at the moment where we were down by 1, and he said, Alex told Derek, "You think he gets him with the changeup?" He goes, "If he throws him a changeup, he's gonna get a base hit, guaranteed. Changeup, base hit." So like seeing things like that, the guys just being able
the self-scouting that happens at that level.
And obviously like I've been in a bench with other guys, but I never been with Alex and Derek. So for me, I was like, I respect them a lot then, but I was like, I think for my brothers and myself, and my mom, we were more in awe that, wow, my dad's managing these guys. To my dad, it was like, he'll look at the team and be like, man, All-Star games now suck. That's not good. Because to him, because he'll be the guy, he said the other day about his All-Star game, the one that he represented. He's just proud that he's part of that team. He'll be like Loretta. He's like, man, I was awesome. I was like on a team.
Yeah. I started
on this. So that's a pride thing when you're a player. But for us, it's just, I have a lot of stuff. My brother Osney, because we're a little bit older and we're kind of like cooler, it was more like hanging out and like talking to them. My brother Osney was like a signing machine on both sides. And everybody knew this. So he's the guy that has like 4 Barry Bonds, but no one can get Barry Bonds. You're like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm friends with Barry's kids. He gets me 2, I get 2. So his memorabilia room he won't let any of us in there because he's like, you guys are just gonna steal my stuff. but it's literally all those guys that are now, at the time they were just players, but now they're the biggest names in baseball. And but looking at those pictures, like, wow, even I looked amazing in a uniform then.
Yeah. Too. So I was telling the guys earlier before you got here about Willie Harris, the reserve outfielder for the Sox, and how he had an allergy that prevented him from celebrating.
Champagne.
Yeah, and
not a drinking problem, champagne.
So he was basically on his own in another.
It happens. Guys do it for religious purposes, addiction purposes, religious. So he had a funny thing about Willie Harris. He used to have a thing. It's called "You want to win, you put Willie in." And he would say that on the bench, and that game, my dad was like, "I'm putting you in. Let's see what you're gonna do." And he's a go ahead run. To that team, and he had this whole thing. You see when people go like this when Blum hits a home run. He's in the video going like this. So they had this thing. It's kind of stupid. Group 4. And it was like the scrubs of the team. You hit Group 4. It's like you're the last group. But they had this whole thing when they would come up with a big hit. The Timos, Pablo Osuna's, Chris Widgers, Blum. It was like you're representing Group 4. So that was the Group 4 had a big showing. That World Series, the only one that didn't have an official batter played was Osuna. Willie ran.
He ran the.
And that's the famous thing that Blummer or Osuna, Blum hits the home run.
So. What was the feeling for your dad? What was the feeling for you and your brothers having your dad the first Latino to win?
We didn't think about it as first Latino. I think so. This is a whole organization thing. So like when you're there, you're like, okay, man, playoff berth. That would be amazing. Playoff berth is like we make the playoffs because I'm a Chicago fan. I grew up a White Sox fan. Those don't come very often.
Right.
People don't realize.
Well, and for the youngins out there, this wasn't like. This was 2005, so we were 6 years removed from the Jordan Bulls.
And
they were 6.
There wasn't any
pretty dark years.
NHL hadn't won.
Right, the Blackhawks were in the depths of just awfulness.
I was getting standing seats for like $5.
Yeah, and we'd been through the 03 Cubs disaster. So, but I think the 03 Cubs kind of sums up like between the 85 Bears and the 05 White Sox. If you weren't the Bulls, it was basically heartbreak. I mean, even the 84 Cubs. We could probably start there.
Well, it was always about teams that were good.
Right.
So we come in. So Ozzie didn't come into like this horrible team. Comes in and we're like, wow, you're taking a roster. It was like Jerry. It was kind of like Phil Jackson. They were there and they couldn't they were like, what's wrong? Like we walked in. You got PK. You got Billy Koch closing. You got Manuel Ordonez. You got Carlos Lee. You got Jose Valentin. You got studs. You got Sandy Alomar. You got you got players, and for some reason they couldn't beat Minnesota. They couldn't mesh. And 04, if Frank doesn't get hurt, they're in the playoffs. Frank doesn't get hurt, White Sox they're in the playoffs in 04. If they win it, I don't think so, but they're in the playoffs. So then they start making moves and they start changing the roster up. And when the White Sox, when we got there, PK was like a guy, but he wasn't. They hadn't told him like you're the guy.
Yeah.
And everyone thought very differently of PK. It was all negative. PK's always in a bad mood. PK is like winning.
Mm-hmm.
And he was very frustrated because the style of other players in the team wasn't a team thing. And Ozzie realized that real quick. He realized, my guy's PK. This is the guy who's going to... Mark and PK are the guys that are going...
Burley and Paul
Konerko are going to make... These are the guys that I need to build. So we go into the 05 season, and I remember they needed a second baseman. They brought a Japanese guy that they had only seen on video. That was a huge Kenny thing. We're like, who's playing second? That's some guy named Iguchi. I was like, okay.
Sure, why not?
Sure, why not? So it was a lot of like question marks. AJ was like coming, and at the time, AJ Brzezinski had a horrible reputation.
Yeah.
I remember even meeting, I'm like, oh, the guy that hit the guy, and the guy that hit the trainer in the nuts.
Yeah.
I was like, this guy's horrible. But so there was a lot of, and I remember us getting beat. Gardy clinched in Chicago in 04. Yeah. And I actually was at the party for their clinching party in 04. And they were like, man, this team's going to get really good. The Twin players are saying, like, they're getting it together. Because before they were like, it wasn't a team. So there was already like vibes of like the team was changing. So they bring in Jermaine Dye, who I always respected and loved as a guy. Always had played on winning teams, but they were like, oh, he's in the back end of his career. Freddie had been traded for. Supposedly Freddie was done, and they had traded for Jose Contreras. He was washed. So there was like all these like what ifs. Right. A lot of question marks. And the what if on Ozzie.
A lot of lottery tickets, if you will.
A lot of lottery tickets. And then they got, I think Petco picked them, the website thing, they picked them to finish like 4th.
Yeah.
And to them it was like not a thing. It was like, and Ozzie came from that school of like no one thought the Marlins were going to win.
Right.
And for Ozzie was like, we had a better, and Ozzie believed that. He says, and he still says that we had a better team than every other team in the National League. People just didn't know who they were. Right. So they were better players at the time. Guys that just didn't know who Derek Lee was or who Juan Pierre was at the time. But they were better. Yeah. Josh Beckett. These guys were just coming up, and people were like, "Oh,
who the heck is Mike Lowell?"
Yeah. So this was before MLB app. This is before like if you think about it now, like there's more access. There's Instagram, so we know who
the next player.
Now we know there's La Vida Baseball. We know that we have so much more information now. So he said that about the White Sox. Like we're good. Like he said, he looked at the division, and he said we have a chance, and he had them buy into his mentality. Said key guys, let them be themselves, and then buy in. Us against everybody else, and then it's got getting that mood, and like we're gonna run, and players started playing loosely, and then my whole thing was okay. So when you're in June, you got that lead. You're like, okay, I hope we don't lose this lead.
Right.
Like we better win the division. Then you go into that last.
That's 15. The Chicago, and then you're like, oh, geez,
yeah. Like I hope we don't you don't want Ozzie. You don't want my dad to be the guy that like completely blew this up. So then it was like a 10-game lead, and then they just went.
Cleveland came back, and
Cleveland was a really good team. Yeah, we didn't match up well against Cleveland, and we clinch. We clinch in Detroit, and I'm like, wow, okay, we won the division. Okay, whatever comes after this is good because. We're like, if Cleveland gets in, it's going to be really hard to beat Cleveland.
Yeah.
They have a really hard time beating them. We don't want them to get in. Cleveland, basically, we throw them the C squad. Sorry, Indians fans. Every day they had the C squad. Yeah. Indians couldn't beat us.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough.
Had you known all year that the quadruple A guys
if it was all year,
would have handled them, you would have managed completely
differently. Travis Hafner, they couldn't, they wanted the Group 4 to be playing. So then then we go into playoffs. There's no Cleveland. So now you're like, okay, the team that everyone's really scared of, they're not there anymore.
Right.
So you're like, okay. So then you're like, okay, well, you're playing the defending champs. Red Sox, okay, they're coming out, but you're like, man, Boston, how are you guys going to handle it? So then you win in Boston, like, you just whoop. And then you have the big game.
Yeah, I was going to say, the pessimist in me, when the bases are loaded and Duca comes in.
That's Duca's fault, by the way. Yeah. The bases were loaded in the first place.
But when he comes in, and I'm like, this is where the Red Sox turned around. They literally just came back from 3 games last year.
So this is a part. So Red Sox lose a series because Alex Cora should have been playing second and not Graffinino.
Yeah.
So that's a big mistake. You got the guys on the team. So there's a lot of controversy. So Brandon McCarthy and Duque, who makes the roster?
Right.
Ozzie wanted Duque, front office, like, McCarthy's been throwing the ball better, like, can Duque get hurt? Just baseball stuff. And they said, we bought out Duque because of this.
Yeah.
But Duque wasn't going to be a staff, so Duque had to, like, how's this translator? He needed, like, extra time. Duque is very high maintenance when it comes to in his pitching. And he needed, like, extra time to, like, warm up. This guy's Cuban style, I call it. They have, like, 7,000 warm-ups. Like the little yellow ball, green. So, and
there's hot yoga and there's for
just
some
somehow
reason,
the guy just prepares himself really well. But so when he's in the bullpen, he was getting a hard time warming up. Like he couldn't get warm. So Marte had to come in, and Marte had this whole thing like can't pitch on the road.
Yeah,
only pitch Marte at home.
The opposite of Julio Teheran in Atlanta.
The opposite of Julio Teheran in Atlanta. Marte couldn't. So Marte, we're like, oh my god, couldn't throw a strike. Ball. Just a hot mess.
Also known as a 12-pitch nervous breakdown on the south side.
So Duque comes in, and my whole thing was, if we lose that game, you get to make up the other ones. No point sweep was... So we beat Boston. You're like, wow, okay, we beat the defending champs. Okay, who are you going to play? You're like, oh my god, you got Vladdy, Sosha, and Anaheim.
It's funny, I was rooting for the Yankees because the Sox had played the Yankees that year.
Because of the weaker team.
Yeah.
They go in, and now... The wake-up call was the Sox felt really comfortable because they had just flown in. We won right away, so we were like chilling at home. They flew in like the red eye to play the next day, and Jose gets beat.
Yeah,
and it was like my dad said that's the best thing that could happen to us. We got hit. Let's see how we're gonna bounce back. Come back, boom, boom, boom. Now we got the complete game things. Now you're going to the World Series, so now you're going like, okay, we just whooped on the whole American League. I didn't know anything much about Houston other than they had Beltran.
Yeah.
And Biggio, but I didn't know much. Oswald was like his best year, but you don't know. You're like, okay, I don't even know anything about this team. And now, everyone in Chicago is saying, "Oh, we made the World Series." White Sox fans, they were like, "We're in it!" Like they were like really happy. Like, we're in the series. Like Ozzie couldn't have done no wrong. And for Ozzie was like, he had a meeting and said, "Guys, this is not over. Like this is." He's like, So he had been in the World Series before,
2 years earlier.
Yeah. Well, he had been with the Marlins and won, but he had been as a player, and gotten destroyed. He went in with the Braves, and he got beat. And he said, if you think getting here is not going to hurt losing, he goes, trust me. I've won it, and it feels good, and I've lost it, and losing it is a lot longer.
So
much deeper. And he said, we made it to a round. So if we could have gotten eliminated in the first round, we would have been sad. But he said, you get eliminated in the World Series, he said, that's going to be, you're gonna carry that series and those games a lot more. So guys were prepared, and they went in, and then Game 3, so they were up 3-0, and he was really concerned, and he was like kept telling guys, we need to punch them while they're down, don't let them get up. And players are like, what are you talking? Like we're up 3-0,
right?
Like, and he was scared. He said, you do not let anyone ever come back. He said when they're down, you do not let a team breathe, and that was this whole thing. And then I said, why are you so worried? He said, you imagine I'm up 3-0, and they come back and beat you, and you're that manager. Because then it's on the manager.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, so it was so from a fan standpoint, it just kept getting better.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. And I even as a fan, like the next year, like we had a team to compete, and they brought Jimmy, and I'm like, oh my God, they brought Jimmy. We're going to be better. And they did win 90 games. Yeah. But that season not making it to the playoffs, looking back at, I was way too comfortable for not making the playoffs. Yeah. I was like, oh, we didn't make the playoffs. Big deal. We're the world champs, though.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's something that I think mentality-wise, and he kept saying it. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Because he wanted to keep, that back-to-back playoff stuff. Because it's not very Chicago-like.
No.
To go, and that's funny, when the Cubs won, all my Cub fan friends were like, this is a dynasty. I said, really? Because it's so easy to build dynasties in baseball because everyone's done it.
Right.
So I think that when you're in it, you're very confident, but it could so easily be taken away. And then within 2 years, we were like, I think 2007 we were like the really bad team.
Yeah.
Just a really random roster. And then we came back in the playoffs in 2008.
Yeah. The blackout game.
But they could never really. Again, 2008 was a good team, but we couldn't make that jump. But just crazy things like, I blame a couple things. I blame Alex Cora not playing second, help ground ball. Escobar being an idiot.
Yeah.
And AJ getting his head and him trying to hit him with the glove.
Right.
Instead of the ball. Like, you're like, what are you thinking? Got in his head. I think AJ had been doing that from the beginning of the year against them. Call him names, and Escobar was just mad. Grabbed him, hit him. So those are things that I think little plays that bounce back. I don't know why the Red Sox took it. That's like, I look at the sequence. these guys were like free swinging. I would have been like, Duke, a pitch.
Yeah.
You know, bases loaded. I'm like, I'm striking out looking. I'm getting one. So there's like a lot of things that happen, and I think we had something that a lot of teams didn't have. I've never seen. I have. Jake Arrieta was locked in like that, but being every day, Jose Contreras in that 19-game span, they were not going to touch him.
Like a man possessed.
He went from being the biggest head case and not knowing where the ball was going to completely getting it together and just.
He was absolutely dominant.
He was just dominant. And Ozzie, one thing to Ozzie's credit, because I know there's a philosophy that people say managers don't matter. Ozzie could have started the series with Burley.
Yeah.
And Mark could have been mad saying, how come I'm not the big game pitcher? But Ozzie had this big philosophy. Ozzie believed that if they would have thrown Wilson Alvarez in 93 and saved Jack for game 3, that they win.
Yeah.
Because Jack was better on the road. He was more rested. And Cleveland, against Toronto, had killed Jack in the regular season.
Right.
And he was like, we needed to set that tone. So for him, it was like, I'm going with my hottest pitcher. And that was also a debate, like, how are you going with Contreras and you're not going with Burley? You know, he's Burley. And he said, I'm going with the best matchup that possible. This is pre-cybermetrics that they were using it, but coaches had numbers and they're looking at this and they said, we got to go with Jose. We got to get that game 1. And then once you get game 1 in,
it's a little bit easier.
Yeah. It's a little bit easier. But yeah, Chicago-wise, fans-wise, and it's just crazy, man. Like, it's just, looking back at now, White Sox fans, we're spoiled. I think the rings that so when we won basketball, we won boom 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 boom, hockey boom boom boom, like, so when we've won, we carry that like we're like dynasties. Like, looking back now, and I'm like, man, the White Sox haven't made a playoff since then.
Yeah,
that's like, you know, like very very like, wow, okay, that's eye opening. But then as a fan, you're like, and before that World Series, they hadn't done it in 88 years or something.
Yeah.
So as a fan, you start appreciating more. Like, man, like what they did was, you know, very very special to do it. And I think for Ozzie, I think it was a big deal that he did it as a White Sox.
Yeah.
So many years in the organization, and from the coaching side, it was Ozzie, Joey. You know, they're like, we've been trying to win a World Series with the Sox since we played together. And then you know, Greg Walker and Harold. Which is Ozzie says all the time. He goes, people don't realize Harold Baines is a bench coach, World Series manager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and he actually told Harold, he goes, Harold was like laughing. You know how now, like, if you're a bench coach for a World Series team,
I got it.
If you're a bench coach for a World Series team, everyone calls you for job interviews.
Yeah.
And you're the
hottest thing on earth.
He asked Harold, did anybody call you? You know, he's like, well, Harold, how come you didn't get interviewed? You should have been managing. He goes, I'm not going to be managing. But those are the things, the intricacies of that run that I think the competitiveness. And this is funny. I think I think if Ozzie managed then to Ozzie managing now, I think that he enjoyed it there because he loved managing against like Joe Torre and Sosha.
Yeah.
And to him, you know, back then Gardy was like the young manager.
Yeah.
You know, him and Gardy were like the young guys. So to him, he'd always like to be matched up against the big name managers. Like, okay, how can it now? He's like, now you look at things like, okay, cool. Like, but I'm like, you're the older guy now. But for him, that was like a big deal to be able to sit across from Joe and say, I got to manage against Joe Torre.
Yeah.
You know, Terry, and be like, at least I'm worthy to be in that conversation.